Welcome to Leading Our Adventures, your Venturing VSA podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Todd, and I'm joined today by our special guest, Claudia. In this amazing episode, you will learn about the high adventure bases and one of our scouts' experiences. Good morning, Claudia. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Would you like to introduce yourself, where you're from, and how you got into scouting?
Absolutely. As you mentioned, my name is Claudia Murphy, and I am from Ames, Iowa, and I'm part of the Mid-Iowa Council. My first involvement with scouting was in middle school. My dad was an enlistment chair for a Cub Scout pack, so I would help organize all of the belt loops and patches into little bags before their court of honors. I really got into scouts in 2019 when girls were admitted into the Scouts BSA program. I'm the founder of one of the first girls units in our council, and it was really exciting to watch us grow and develop alongside our brother troop. After the first year I was in Scouts, I started working at Camp Matigua, which is our council camp. And I've spent the past 4 summers there. Camp really emphasized my love for scouting, and it's a huge reason I stayed involved. Currently, I'm an assistant scoutmaster for my troop and a member of Crew 450 and Ship 3304.
Thank you so much for sharing, Claudia. We have some of the similar experiences. I love those little belt loops and the sound that they made as they clicked on the table. We were chatting before the show, and I'm thrilled that you're so enthusiastic of the program in general, but especially the high adventure experiences. Can you tell our listeners about your experience?
Absolutely. So in 2021, my troop took a group of 6 youth and 2 adults to Philmont Scout Ranch in New Mexico for a 12-day trek with our council contingent. Originally, we were slated to go in 2020, but obviously with the pandemic, Philmont wasn't open that summer, so it pushed us back a year, but honestly, that was probably okay for us. Our crew was 50-50 girls and guys, which made it really interesting and changed our dynamic a little bit. I do think it benefited us overall, and I'm quite glad we had a co-ed crew. We learned a lot about each other and bonded in ways we probably wouldn't have at home.
Wow,
A few of my favorite. Oh, you're good.
Your experience. Sorry.
Oh, so a few of my favorite experiences from Philmont were mountain biking, spar pole climbing, mostly because I felt like the scene in Mulan where she's climbing up the pole, and seeing the Milky Way. Obviously, mountains aren't something we have a lot of in Iowa, aka none. There are no mountains. So being able to, 1, go backpacking, and then 2, go mountain biking was really fun. And it really opened my eyes to the possibilities and opportunities that are available if I just travel to other parts of the country. Spar pole climbing was super exciting, and walking around in the spike shoes was entertaining. I honestly don't know how I thought spar pole climbing worked, but it was not what I expected. And then the Milky Way, probably my favorite experience, which isn't on the program itineraries. It's just kind of a benefit of being in New Mexico. The light pollution in my town isn't great, so we don't get to see a ton of stars at night because of it. But in New Mexico, the last night we were on the trail, the sky was crystal clear. There's no light pollution really at Philmont. And so we were able to see the entire Milky Way, and we sat there for a good hour or so, just like staring at the Milky Way. We're just like, oh my gosh, there's so many stars. This is perfect.
Is that kind of like a movie experience? Kind of picture perfect?
It definitely is. I don't know like how else to describe it. I was just sitting there and I'm like, I could just sit here forever and just be content just staring at the Milky Way.
Did it change throughout the night? I'm so curious. I've never seen it.
I honestly couldn't tell you. I have like a big snapshot memory of it. Just like all the pictures you see that like National Geographic posts, or all the like fun, like just time lapse. That's what I can see.
I see. That sounds very interesting. Do you have any other stories from your experience?
Yeah, I have a couple. So one of my memorable stories was we were hiking to Upper Greenwood, and it started to storm. So following our house weather training and the instruction from our ranger, Cassie, she's an absolute icon, we spread out and crouched in lightning position for about half an hour while it stormed. If you asked me at the time if I was having fun, the answer would probably be no. But looking back on it, it was one of my favorite experiences because it gave everyone on our trek something to bond over. And it was ironically really peaceful, just sitting there in nature and just kind of relaxing, despite being in less than ideal weather conditions. While we were in lightning position, I did befriend a squirrel that was waiting out the storm under a log nearby me. So it was just me and the squirrel.
The friends that you learn in scouting, did you name your squirrel friend?
I didn't name my squirrel friend. I really should have. He definitely deserved a name.
That's okay. I wonder how many other scouts he befriended under Philmont property. What a place to be.
Yeah, I don't know.
What a place to be a squirrel on Philmont property. I love that.
Really, it's gorgeous there.
Yeah, and I love that you use the hazardous weather training, which is required by BSA, and you just like put it into action. Everybody was spread out, and I enjoyed hearing your experience of that it was kind of peaceful as you were waiting. Is there any other things you would like to share about your experience at Philmont?
Yeah, so my final memory from Philmont is meeting scouts from other parts of the country. When we embarked on the trail, I was not really expecting to make any new friends. I had, in my head, reached the conclusion that I was not going to see anyone besides my crew for the next 12 days, and that was okay. I was wrong. While we were on the trail, we saw a lot of people, but one group that really stuck out was a troop from the East Coast, and we were scheduled to be at the same camp for two nights in a row. And this night, we spent hours getting to know each other. We played wiffle ball with the staff at that base camp, and we're telling stories around a lantern. And then we got back to base camp at the end of our 12-day trek, and it turns out they also got back to base camp the same day as us. And so we got to go and play soccer at base camp and go to the closing campfire with them. And so that was pretty awesome.
Wow. Like lifelong friends that you would never know if you weren't at Philmont.
Right. We just happened to be there at the same time, and it was awesome.
Same campsites and same closing day. It's really interesting how that works out. Have you done any other high adventure programs in the BSA?
Yes. So the second high adventure program I partook in was at the Summit Buckle Reserve in West Virginia. I was part of the inaugural Women of Character program at the National Jamboree this past summer. So I had a little bit of a different experience than the rest of the Jamboree participants and the rest of the participants that go to the summit. But while I was there, I did get to go down the Alexander Eagle Flight, which was previously the Big Zip, got renamed during the Jamboree. Which was super exciting. I did think I was going to get stuck for a little bit there, but I did make it all the way across the lake, so I was in the clear on that one. Big shout out to Ryan for slowing herself down when she noticed I was slow. She coached me through how to speed up. We made it to the end together. That was pretty great.
Awesome. Wow. I didn't know you got to see Ryan. I mean, that's kind of cool. I wish we had connected at Jamboree. But it sounds like you had a good experience, that you got to do some of the high adventure stuff and be a part of this inaugural program. So thank you for serving during Jamboree in that way. Wow. Well, we talked a little bit about why high adventures are important. And I know when we talked before, you said that you were really, really passionate about scouts being able to have kind of these high adventure opportunities. Can you tell me more about like why they're important and why you're so passionate about it?
Yeah, so the first reason that I really like the high adventure programs is that they provide opportunities that aren't available in a lot of regions and a lot of local council camps. I couldn't tell you the number, but I will say a lot of camps probably don't have burro packing readily available. But when we were at Philmont, we got to take two burros with us for 2 of the days of our trek, so that was really exciting.
Can I ask you a
Same with
question?
yeah, go for it.
What's burro packing? Like, it's kind of the first time.
Yeah, so a burro is kind of like a donkey. And so we were able to put satchels on either side of the burros. And so we got to pack our gear into them. It took a load off our shoulders, and then we got to walk with them from a couple of the camps to the other ones. So we had them for 2 days. They went into stables at night, and then we got them back out in the morning. So that was really exciting. It was good that we had them at the end of our trek. So we were all getting tired there, and we were just like, oh, this is awesome. We can just offload our gear here a little bit.
Right. Sorry, I interrupted you. I was just going, what are burros? I've never been to Philmont.
Totally a fair question.
Never been to Philmont. Don't, oops. Thank you for sharing. You were saying, sorry.
Yeah. So Philmont also has some other programs that I feel like aren't available in other places, like building the railroad. We got to lay a couple ties on that. That was a workout. Much respect to people that do that. We also got to tour some of the hieroglyphs that they had on the walls that are in the Philmont area and just in the region. That was super exciting. But then some of the other programs, like when you go to Sea Base, when you go to Northern Tier, there aren't a lot of places that have those opportunities for those like extended water trips or to go do scuba. Like personally, we can do scuba in our pool, but that's not the same as going scuba diving in the ocean.
No,
So I think High Adventure is just right. Like it really provides opportunities that aren't necessarily available simply based on geography sometimes, but also just the caliber of what council camps can do versus what these national programs can put on.
Yeah, I mean, you could go see your nice plastic ocean friends in a pool, but maybe not. Maybe no stingrays or jellyfish or fish, or any of the other dolphins in the pool. And I know we talked a little bit about Sea Base. Sea Base is in Florida. It's a high adventure base and off of the Keys. There's a lot of different treks that you were looking at and telling me about. I hope you get to go there at one point. It sounds like a lot of fun. I know my friend was on a boat for like 10 days on one of the adventures, and he had a lot of fun. So maybe you and your crew could go together one day. And then the last high adventure base that we haven't talked as much about is Northern Tier in northern Minnesota and part of Canada. It has 2 functions. I got the privilege of going when it was winter time, so in between Christmas and New Year's. I went on a trek, which was a lot of fun. And then in the summer, they do kind of pack and paddle, a lot of paddling experiences. So maybe if your crew is interested, that can be your next adventure. Ooh, and I was looking, and there's a handy dandy map for all these adventure bases that we were talking about. We have Philmont in New Mexico. We have Summit in West Virginia, Florida. We have Sea Base, and there's that Northern Tier in northern Minnesota that we were talking about. And right there in Texas, do you want to guess what that is in Texas?
National headquarters.
Ding, 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 you're right. It's the national headquarters. Great place to be. No high adventure bases on there, though. Thank you for the handy dandy map. That's awesome. So we've talked about the fun that we've had at Northern Tier. Not Northern Tier. My brain's on Northern Tier now. Oops. The fun that we've had at Philmont, and you talked a little bit about your Jamboree experience. What are some of the benefits? Tell me more. We were talking before, and I think our viewers would love to hear.
So the high adventure programs are also a great way to increase retention with our older scouts. When you can keep your older scouts in the program even longer, it helps with the unit, keeping the unit alive, because the older scouts are able to sit down and kind of teach the younger scouts and get them through some of their basic skills that they need to know, and be really a source of knowledge. So the longer units can keep kids involved, it ensures the longevity of their program. And then also they provide a really good personal development and reflection opportunities, because when you're on these high adventure programs, you're away from all the actions life throws at you. Like, you don't have your phone. There's no internet connection. It's just kind of you and the people you're with. So you really get an opportunity to reflect on life and grow as a person, whether that be just figuring out what you want to do in scouts moving forward. I know when I was on Philmont, I was asking my advisor all these questions about like college and how to get ready for that. And so it was just a really good opportunity for me to kind of slow down, because I feel like life is so busy that these programs really give you the chance to be present in the moment. I think that's something that everyone can really benefit from.
Awesome. That's really cool. Thank you for sharing and for your insights. Is there anything else you would like to say to our viewers as we close?
If you have an opportunity to go on a high adventure program, you should absolutely take it. I think it is 100% worth the experience. Other than that, thank you for having me on. I really liked getting to talk to you.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here. And thank you for our listeners for tuning in to this episode of the Venturing BSA podcast, Leading Our Adventures. Coming soon, we're going to have a questionnaire and a special guest talking about how to start a venturing crew. So make sure you comment below with different questions that you would like to be answered. We'll catch you next month. Until next time, stay adventurous and keep leading the adventure. Thank you.